You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Welcome to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign. If you love old movies, Hollywood history, or the golden age of filmmaking, you've come to the right place. This is the podcast that talks about amazing stories of Tinseltown from another era and fascinating conversations with writer-producer Steve Cubine and actress-writer Nan McNamara.
So, Steve, did Ava Gardner and Howard Hughes have a good relationship?
Well, they did until he dislocated her jaw.
What?
Well, don't worry. She hit him back with an ashtray.
From Beneath the Hollywood Sign is the gin joint for you.
How's this? I'll ask a question.
What question?
Jazz question. You get it right. We roll.
I know everything there is to know about Miles. Lay it on me.
Recorded in Chicago, Illinois, with your hosts, Ken, Matt, Neil, and Jeff. This is Triviality.
The cream of the crop!
Hello and welcome to Triviality, the game where a lack of seriousness meets a little bit of knowledge. My name is Neil, and I won't be your host because today is a special Laid On Me episode, and the questions are going to be provided by Jeff, who is currently in Parts Unknown. How's it going, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Neil?
I'm doing all right. Today's episode is a special Laid On Me. Normally we do things with huge fan bases, The Office, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, things like that. But today is going to be something a little bit different. I haven't done a Laid On Me yet, and some of you may know, I know David Raffetto made a comment on our Triviality Facebook page, which is facebook.com/trivialitypod, that he knows that I'm a big fan of Patrick Swayze, which is true. And David, I believe, also knows that I am a huge fan of Patrick Swayze's film Roadhouse. Before we start, have you seen the film, Jeff?
No, I have not seen the film, so I will be honest here. I'm pulling from a couple different sources and also some recommendations I got for questions. So we should be good. Hopefully the questions are challenging.
Guests of Triviality who come to us through Skype will see that behind my head there is a giant Roadhouse poster, and that's what they look at when they compete against us. They get to stare into the steely eyes of Patrick Swayze. Before I kick it over to Jeff, what's nice about this today is we just celebrated Patrick Swayze's birthday, which was August 18th, and as he was gone too soon, he would have been 65. I definitely recommend you check it out. It is a lot of fun. Just don't go into it thinking it's going to be Citizen Kane, but when you come out, I think you'll have a smile on your face. So, let's go for it, Jeff. Lay it on me.
You got it, Neil. Yeah, I probably don't need to watch the movie. You talk about it enough. I think I'll probably get the gist of it just going through it with you today. And then, as always, anytime we're at trivia. So,
well, I'll say this, Jeff. If enough Patreon subscribers... if we get, let's say, 10 Patreon subscribers, we only have one right now. If we get 10, I will do a special Patreon subscriber exclusive where instead of you having to watch Roadhouse, there's two options. I'll either just explain the entire movie over one long podcast, beat for beat, or I will do a commentary with the Triviality guys sitting in the room with me. We'll all watch the movie, and I will do a running commentary that you guys can play right along with the movie as if it was on your DVD at home. And we'll do one of those options. But if we get 10 Patreon subscribers and you guys ask for it, we'll do it.
How do you feel about doing that as a Google Hangout? And we'll have all the people who are subscribed at that time join us. We'll chat a bit, and then we'll do the full recording.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, and we'll watch the movie, and I'll just throw you little facts at you guys in between.
I like that. I like that a lot. So, yeah, hopefully you'll support us. We would appreciate the support. At patreon.com/trivialitypodcast. We've got a lot of different options for how you can support the show if you'd like to do so in a monetary fashion. So, all right, I think we'll get it started. So, first question, we're going to start off easy. Patrick Swayze plays a character by what name in Roadhouse?
Well, the character he plays in Roadhouse famously is named Dalton, and there's an even harder question here. A lot of people don't know that Dalton actually has a first name. And his full name is James Dalton, which you will find out if you look at his medical record that he carries around with him everywhere.
All right, James Dalton is correct. So I wasn't going to accept Dalton. You're too good for that. Question 2. What is the special name used in the movie for the type of bouncer that Dalton is?
So Dalton is a self-described cooler. and he sort of presides over the other bouncers who deal with the small instances here and there. And he is sort of almost, you want to call it like the head coach, and he basically does not get involved unless he has to. So he's the cooler who presides over the entire bar.
Yeah, he is indeed the cooler. What kind of car does Dalton have? It's the one that he covers up in the film. As a fan of high-end cars myself, this question appealed to me.
Dalton has one car that he drives everywhere. It's his personal car, and then when he gets to different towns, he buys a really crappy car because all the patrons of the bars that he works at hate him so much that they wreck his car at any chance they get. They'll slash his tires, they'll break his windows. So Dalton's actual car, his personal car, is a really nice Mercedes. And let me think here. I'm just trying to think of the model. I think it is a 560 SEC. I don't know the year. It's a Mercedes 560 SEC car is what he drives.
Yeah, for someone who doesn't know cars, Neil, you definitely nailed Dalton's. It is a Mercedes 560 SEC. So question 4. Dalton is hired away from New York to work in a job in this town in Missouri.
He goes to work in the town named Jasper, Missouri.
Yeah, Jasper, Missouri is correct. Question 5. Dalton finds residence in a farm owned by whom?
This is one of the best characters in the film. It's a farm guy named Emmett. And the funny story there is Dalton comes there. The dude, he's got an apartment on the top of a barn. And he goes, well, there ain't no air conditioning. There ain't no television. Dalton, like right away, goes, yep, I'll take it. And the guy's kind of shocked. And the funny exchange is Dalton goes, how much? And the guy goes, you think you could do $100 a month? And Dalton's like, I think I can make that work. And the guy said, Emmett says, I have to charge something to stay in the good graces of the church. So it is Emmett.
Yeah, it is Emmett. Question 6. What is the name of the bar that Dalton is hired to work in?
The character of Tillman comes to visit Dalton in New York City, and he says, he goes, I heard you're the best. Dalton says, no, Wade Garrett's the best. And he goes, Wade Garrett's getting old. And then Dalton says, he's still the best. And Tillman goes, well, regardless, I need you to come fix my place. It's called the Double Deuce.
Yep, Double Deuce. All right, moving to the halfway mark of our 15 questions here. Question 7. This man is the villain and controls most of the town through fear. What is his name?
So the villain of Roadhouse played just with a lot of intensity and just a very fun performance by a famous character actor, Ben Gazzara. The antagonist of the film is Brad Wesley.
Yeah, Brad Wesley is correct. Question 8. You may know the antagonist of the film, but what is the name of his right-hand man?
So in Roadhouse, the man who is sort of taking over the town, he's pulling percentages from all the local businesses, sort of dripping them dry. His name is Brad Wesley, and he's played by famous character actor Ben Gazzara in a really good performance. But his right-hand man, played by Marshall Teague, his name is Jimmy Reno.
Yeah, Jimmy Reno is correct.
Yeah, Marshall gives a great performance. He was a naval kickboxing champion, so he's a really good fighter. And the fight between Jimmy Reno and Dalton at the end of Roadhouse is one of the best choreographed fights in film, in my opinion. It's a lot of long takes. The fight, really gets aired out. It's not rushed, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. So make sure to check that out.
All right, question number 9. This doctor befriends Dalton after he suffers what injury?
So the female love interest of the film, played by Kelly Lynch, her name is Doc. That's her character's name. And they first meet, and this is going to be fun for anyone who kind of knows anything about Triviality. They first meet when Dalton comes into the ER with a knife wound, which would be my official answer, and he sees the doc, and he brings his own paperwork, and she goes, do you carry that with you everywhere? And he goes, it's just easier. It has every wound that he's ever had as a cooler. And Doc says, all right, well, you're going to need 2 staples. I'm going to give you some anesthesia or anesthetic. And Dalton goes, no, I don't want it. And she goes, well, what do you mean you don't want it? It's going to hurt. And Dalton says, pain don't hurt. And that's where we get the name of our trivia team, that scene where he's first flirting with Doc.
I guess that's because pain don't hurt.
Well, see, yeah, and you haven't seen the movie, but now that you do, it'll hold a special place in your heart.
Well, I knew it was definitely a reference to Roadhouse, and I knew it was when he got injured, but I didn't realize the connection with that particular scene. So that's fun. All right, question 10. And so far, you're sporting 9 for 9. So hopefully you're going to get through it. Maybe you'll shoot Tom Cruise. So, I mean, you didn't when you met him in real life, so I'm assuming you won't now either. But question 10. Who is the owner of the car dealership in town?
Oh, man. This is a tough one. So there's a bunch of townspeople in the film. So Red Webster is the character who runs the auto parts store, whatever you want to call it, like the like the Pep Boys or whatever. And Brad Wesley is kind of screwing him up. And a small side tangent: Red Webster is played by one of Elvis Presley's best friends, named Red as well, who recently just passed away. But I always forget his last name, and I pronounce it wrong because I always think of Amari Stoudemire, the basketball player, but I'm pretty sure it's not Stoudemire. I think it's Pete Stauden, like with an N, Meyer. Pete Staudenmire.
So I'm gonna give you that one, Neil. I believe it's Pete Staudenmire.
Staudenmire, okay.
Yeah, so very, very close. I'm assuming it's just a pronunciation thing.
Well, no, that's what's funny. I think they only call him Pete in the movie, and I just know that from the IMDb page.
And I may have it wrong. You would know the film.
I don't think they say his last name, but
oh, you're a diehard fan, Neil. So, all right, question 11. Who is the name of Dalton's friend and legendary cooler?
So, as I said earlier, Dalton considers him the best. It's his mentor. And it's so funny because this actor, he says 90% of the people that come up to him mention this movie when he's done so many movies. You know, he's done like over 90 films. But he's so good in this movie. And it's played by Sam Elliott with that wonderful low voice and mustache. He plays the character Wade Garrett.
Yeah, Wade Garrett.
A little side tangent. You guys can, if you want to do this, I definitely recommend it. Please send in the pictures. It'll give me a laugh, and hopefully the other guys, Jeff, Ken, and Matt, will laugh as well. But a couple friends of mine who are obsessed with the film Roadhouse, just like me. One of them, Phil, is going to be on an episode coming up. Anytime we go to a Starbucks, any place that's fast casual that they need your name for an order, we either do Dalton, Wade Garrett, or Wade, or Jimmy Reno, and those are the names that we call out, so that when they have to yell, coffee for Dalton or coffee for Wade Garrett. So do that for us. Send us a picture of your coffee with that name on it, and I'll get a kick out of that.
All right, question 12. What stuffed animal is used to defeat one of Wesley's henchmen?
I don't want to give any spoilers away. Not that this is an important movie by any means, but
yeah, I think you're past the statute of limitations on spoilers for this film, Neil.
Okay, good. So there's a character who's sort of a bumbling idiot who plays Wesley's henchman. Basically, it's a giant stuffed polar bear. Or bear, I should say, that falls on him and crushes him. Not to death, but it crushes him.
Yep, it is a bear.
Tinker has a great line when the bear falls on him, and he at the end of the movie they go, "Where were you, Tinker?" And he's like, "A polar bear fell on me."
Question 13. After Dalton discovers, spoilers, Wade dead on the bar, what does he take from his body?
So this is kind of a nice emotional scene for Swayze. Basically the transition from being the second best cooler to really the only cooler in the world, the best and the best of the world. He, while crying, takes out a knife from Garrett's body, and a single drop of blood goes across his tattoo on his body where the knife was inside. So it's a knife.
It is indeed a knife. Question 14. Wesley finally gets his. Who is he killed by?
So this is fun. This is kind of a trick question, actually. This is a good question. A lot of people are going to say it was Emmett. Some people are going to say it was Red. Some people are going to say it was Pete. But in reality, it was all of the townsfolk, because everyone that Brad Wesley was screwing over came and brought a shotgun. And after Dalton and him had a fight, they basically gun him down at the end, and sort of a what's the term, like in a Western, like maybe not vigilante justice, but sort of townsfolk justice, where they all kind of grew a spine and came to defend themselves.
Well, it's kind of like a firing squad where, everybody takes part, but nobody, has specific blame in that regard.
Exactly.
You don't really know who did it for certain. They all kind of did it, and all didn't kind of do it. So
exactly, and as Jeff said, and even though he hasn't seen the movie, he's right on the money. The sheriff who was on the take from Brad Wesley comes in and he goes, "What happened here? Someone tell me what happened." And all of them go, "I didn't see anything. You see anything?" "Nope, didn't see anything." So it's the townsfolk.
All right, and your last question, Neil, if you want to remain perfect. Who was not at Wesley's house when he was killed?
Oh, now this is the greatest spoiler of them all. You may know Roadhouse, being famous as a Patrick Swayze film, but the way that this film will stay in infamy and in the library of film classics is it is known as the film where Patrick Swayze rips someone's throat out. And I'm not going to go in too much detail of why this happens or the mythology behind it, but Dalton rips Jimmy Reno's throat out when he goes one-on-one with him, when I said in that famous fight. And Jimmy is not at the house at the end because his throat was ripped out and he's floating dead in the lake between Dalton and Brad Wesley's house.
So if I'm not mistaken, that's Marshall Teague, right?
That is Marshall Teague.
Yeah, which for any of you who haven't listened, Neil also hosts Best of the Best podcast, and they interview Marshall. So not an episode I've listened to yet. I was going to wait for Roadhouse, but since we ended up doing this episode, I think I can just go ahead and listen to it. But yeah, the throat ripping scene is one that I get reenacted in front of me on probably a weekly basis. So yeah, Jimmy is definitely not there because he is deceased. So well done, Neil. I think that makes you 15 out of 15. You join the ranks of your illustrious girlfriend's score, and you also have a perfect game to show for.
Well, I'll say this. Colleen is able to retain lots of information. I mean, over Gilmore Girls 7 or 8 seasons, so much material. And I know she's going to be doing one for How I Met Your Mother, but there's not many things that I know a lot about in a singular fashion. I know just different, a lot of stuff about movies in general, but as far as like one subject, this might be the only time that I will be on a Lay On Me and will do as well because I've seen this movie a million times. But I appreciate the questions. There's some other great ones out there for fans of Roadhouse. If you want to stump your friend who loves Roadhouse, ask them how much money Dalton demands in order to go to the Double Deuce to Tillman, and it's pretty crazy when you think about it. It's 1989, and he says, "I want $5,000 cash up front and $500 a night to bounce." So think about it's pretty crazy how much money he gets to be a cooler. Yeah, no, this was great, Jeff. Thanks for doing this. I know this is such a pointed category, so hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And if you haven't seen Roadhouse, maybe this will kind of interest you to see it. So please send in pictures of you watching it, putting your one of the character names on your coffee or your food order. I'm demanding Jeff now watch the movie, and like we said, after we get 10 Patreon subscribers, we'll do a fun Google Hangout. We can all watch the movie together, I think, if you're up for that, Jeff.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jeff. And like we said, check out our Patreon, and make sure to interact with us on all our social media. We'd love to hear from you. So for Jeff and his great questions, my name is Neil, and that was Triviality.
Well, Mr. Dalton, you may add 9 staples to your dossier of 31 broken bones, 2 bullet wounds, 9 puncture wounds, and 4 stainless steel screws. That's an estimate, of course. I'll give you a local.
No, thank you.
Do you enjoy pain?
Pain don't hurt.
Most of my patients would disagree with you. Okay.